Retrograde Amnesia is a member of the Greenlit Podcast Network, a coalition of creator-owned podcasts focused on video gaming, entertainment, and pop culture. Go to greenlitpodcast.com to find out about all the great shows on the network. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Chris.
Have you heard of podcasts?
Yes.
Have you heard of patreon.com?
I think so.
Do you support any Patreons that you would like to plug now? Not this one.
Not this one. I support the band Health on Patreon, and I support Jeremy Parrish on Patreon.
Oh, cool. I support a podcast called Abnormal Mapping. They do a podcast about Gundam, and Gundam is good. Do you also like giant robots, Eric?
I love giant robots.
We do a podcast about Xenogears. You can support it on patreon.com/retroam. Now, would you like to hear some hot sounds that I've recorded?
Yes.
Welcome to Retrograde Amnesia, a comprehensive podcast about Xenogears. Tonight, we shall sally forth towards the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. The Ides of March are upon us, except for it's September by now, I think. This is the final chapter of Xenogears. Hey, Eric.
It's April 30th.
April 30th?
April 30th.
It's not April 30th, but it is, sort of. My name is Chris. I'm joined by Eric. Hey, Eric.
Hey, Chris. What's up, man? How are you doing?
Hey, we're also joined tonight by The Real Net. The Real Net is a collective of patrons who listen to us record live via the internet service called Discord. They are good-looking and knowledgeable, and you can join The Real Net at patreon.com/retroam.
We're also joined by the Fake Net, our post-production AI companion.
Initializing fake net.
I wish I was human so I could die.
Thank you, Fake Net. We appreciate you. Eric, we've explored the Snowfield hideout.
We've busted out.
We have busted out of it. We have, well, you have explored all the rooms. Me, I missed a couple because I am bad at this game, I guess. And we've headed to the world map. What was your, no pun intended, emotions when you first hit the world map? Like, what is your expectation here as a child or as a teen, and what is your expectation here now as an adult?
Where the hell am I was my first thing, because there is a spot on the map that has snow on it on disc 1, and you can go there and fight the dragons. Yeah. And you can get the devil dress for your lady team members. But now, my main primary memory of this, and this ties into something I want to talk about, is all the enemies you can fight on this section of the world map are the enemies you fought in the Shavat shafts.
Yes.
In that dungeon, which implies that they escaped and are roaming this land.
Yeah.
Two things about those enemies. One, I think we referenced this in one of our bonus episodes, but apparently somewhere, either in the manga or the Perfect Works, there is... You know how we were wondering why the hell didn't they freeze more people in Carbonite if someone's so Carbonite obsessed here?
Right.
I think the gimmicks, or one of the enemies here, are actually Carbonite slabs.
Yeah,
that roam around.
The Forbidden.
The Forbidden.
Yes, I believe one of our patrons on the RealNet pointed this out to us in one of our previous bonus episodes regarding this fact. And yes, you're right. They are roaming all around. And it's great these things are roaming around because they drop gold gear.
Yes.
And you can get those things and sell them.
And that's my memory. Yeah, it's gold hoods and gold, I think, armor. And my memory is, as a kid playing this, was fighting those things over and over and over in my gear, which you just smash them.
Yeah.
Except for the ones, or not Forbidden. Forbidden's actually return your damage. But that was my way of grinding money at that point. And I needed all the money because of the harebrained shit that I did to win the first time I played this game.
I spent a lot of time out there too to get some of the
golden vests, golden hoods.
Yes, to get some of the things that you can upgrade your gears with that we will discuss probably a little bit later in this podcast. But it's nice that they sprinkled in these characters in appropriate places.
Yeah. It gives you an opportunity also that you've just got some wizardry rings to earn the rest of the death blows. And this is back when I was compelled to try to do everything in the game.
Right.
And it's entirely possible, I'm pretty sure, to play through this entire game and never play as Emeralda.
Yeah, that's
which
absolutely
you can
true.
just start doing right now, because this is the first time I've actually played as her.
Yeah.
And how, when I was a kid, I felt the need to do that. As an adult, I'm like, there's only one more decent on-foot battle for the rest of this game.
Yeah.
The rest of it's all gear stuff.
Absolutely.
Which is independent of most of your stats, right?
We're coming off the heels of Final Fantasy VII, so did you expect there to be a emerald weapon and a ruby weapon here?
I mean, this is what I played. This is my first game after 7. I went from 7 to this.
Yeah.
Which I had played a game, before that, but it was fresh on the brain for PlayStation, new era, golden age of Squaresoft.
Yeah, there's actually very, very little that you can actually do. And I think the only thing interesting that I really discovered via the world map was for some reason I landed in the desert in Ave. and I noticed that some of the enemies there are the Sufal creatures.
They're roaming the earth.
Yeah, or kind of all over the place, which kind of makes sense in canon here. At some point, I'm forgetting exactly where it was. I think it was outside of the lighthouse, which we'll get to later. I ran into another Shady, which is the Scythe character.
That's going to come and play in our Perfect Works miniseries. It talked about Shadies. What is Shady? Was that the thing that was in the woods by Akavi?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily in the woods. You can find them in the grasslands as well.
It's the witch character?
Yeah, it's the witch sprite with a giant fucking scythe that does a lot of damage to you if you're on foot.
It was Rico's number 1, right?
Yeah, they used one of Rico's cohorts used that sprite in the battle for some reason, because I guess they didn't have sprites for the Kislev battlers at that time. So I did run into the Shady. This time I was in Gears, so I was able to just stomp it. Yeah.
But that's all I kind of really have. It was still fun. Xenogears, I think I always enjoy when games, especially PlayStation, I don't enjoy, but notice when on disc 2, in order to save space for possibly a long ending FMV, they eliminate real estate that you can visit. Like Final Fantasy VIII locked you out of all of the towns. I think 9 may have done that as well.
Yeah.
Because the mist clouded or something like that, to where you can't visit these because the game invents a reason to wipe them out. And also it can't store all these assets again.
Yeah, for sure.
And come up with what to do with all these characters.
Outside of Deus, there are some, because Deus is the final dungeon.
Yeah.
And
it's a big landmass.
You actually enter there via in flight in Yggdrasil, but if you land there are some eagle gears and the fucking pedestal, which we talked about some of these gears ad nauseum during our Patreon episode on the gears.
This is where all that shit is. And it makes sense that Kislev the Battle Arena has somehow trapped some of these. He's employing them and they're fighting.
Yeah, they have nothing better to do except for to live for the spirit of battle.
Yeah.
And here we are.
It's super convenient that the Yggdrasil is parked next to the Shavat thing. I was like, oh, thank God that's there. But yeah, I think the only places you can visit are both Anima Relic dungeons. You can go to Taura's house, you can go to Duneman Isle, Kislev, and then apparently Citan's house.
Yes, you can go to Citan's house. Yeah, so we'll talk about each one of these as we go through this podcast. But before we can start traveling places, we have to go Yggdrasil, right?
Yes, for the last time.
This is the final time. And I was actually pleasantly surprised by this because I kind of, in the earlier days of our podcast, we really enjoyed to go see what our characters had to say. It was sort of the
Mass Effect moments.
Yeah, the proto Mass Effect moments. We weren't going to have any giant dialogue conversations and we weren't going to unlock any side quests or have any sex with any of our characters necessarily. But we're going to be able to see some fun lines of dialogue along the way.
So did you stop off on the bridge first?
Yes, the bridge. Something happened on the bridge that I think could happen at any point in the game, but something happened here that I sort of regret, but also I'm glad I did to get content for this podcast.
What happened on the bridge, Chris?
Franz asked me if I wanted to hear some hot sounds.
Yeah, you hear minimum 5 every time.
And I said no.
What?
And he was like, oh man, okay. Well,
were you busy?
Yeah.
Were you too busy for this shit?
I guess so. And he said, oh, okay, well, come back when you want to hear what the static between the sounds sounds like, or what's between the static or something of that nature. It was a pretty cool line.
It's funny, I did the sounds this time and I got the sound that the guy made in Solaris when the crane dropped him into the abyss.
You mean Ellie's father? Oh no, that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy, yeah, the worker bee.
The protester, the worker bee that ruined it for everyone and set their colony back or whatever.
That's funny.
Another guy I talked, and he said that all he hears on the radio now is static, and he hopes there are people still alive out there.
Yeah.
And then there's another guy who says that maps are useless now because the world's been kind of rearranged.
Yeah, I did talk to that guy. He's like, well, we have a map, but fuck it. It's meaningless, so I guess my job is meaningless, but at least they're still paying me.
Did you talk to Bingo?
No.
He says some grim shit.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he says, if Sigurd passes away, I will, and then he trails off, and then he goes back into the instructions for how to fly the goddamn ship.
Oh, God.
And Sigurd's right next to him, so it's
I don't know how I missed that,
man.
Damn it, Bingo. Chill out, dude.
Whew. All right, where'd you go next?
Maybe Sigurd does pass away. Next, I went down the elevator, and I talked to the guy in front of the gun room. And he asks us if he has been useful to us. If you say yes, he's glad to hear that, but he knows that we're not being truthful.
Yeah.
And
it's very possible this is the first time I've spoken to this man.
It is very, very possible. I think he's the guy who tells you where each room is.
Yeah.
The guy that you talked to in front of the ficus tree that has been growing along since Sir Bart was
Has that
born.
really happened? Has it grown during this game?
I was going to ask you the same question because to me it looked taller.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, well, did they account for that detail?
I think they did because he made a comment about it.
Are any of the other assets in the Yggdrasil static? Or do it even change? Or are they all just like everything? Even when they got the new one, they got the exact same Like, that can't be the same tree. The fucking Yggdrasil went down. Like, didn't they modify it and get a new one at some point?
Well, I mean, they could. I guess they could have recovered the ficus and planted it in a new pot and taken it to the new Yggdrasil.
Recovered the Ficus is my Xenogears electronic cover band.
They also recovered the painting of the Yggdrasil that was hanging in the Yggdrasil and hung it back in Rico's room.
Perfect.
So whatever. Yeah. So that guy's there. Then I went to the gun room.
Of course.
Old Mason. He's ready to join the party.
He says something weird though.
Yeah.
He says this Mason will come and take up arms if need be. Is he speaking in first person, or is it like a Mason school or factory where these guys are churned out?
I'm pretty sure he's just speaking in third person.
Okay. All right.
But I sort of fantasized about...
Like, is it like a title, like a butler title, this Mason right here?
There is a butler class in some Fire Emblem games, so maybe he could join our party and use his rifles and magic. Who knows?
Yeah.
That would have been fun. If we're not getting Ramses, we're definitely not getting Old
Mason.
Yeah.
I talked to Billy off in the corner.
Yeah.
He said we had a long journey, but what we did need not be in vain.
Yes, indeed. Billy is ready to psych himself up so that he feels that all the shitty things that he's done along the way were for some...
Worth it.
Some meaning.
That's what I do at the end of the world, is you search for meaning for all, even the good and bad.
Yes. Rico, he's here, in his room.
Yeah.
He's still sad about Hammer. He'll never forgive them for what they did to him. He doesn't call Hammer by name.
No, but you know who he's talking about. Hashtag Hammer did nothing wrong.
Yeah. I mean, where did we land on Hammer? Did he do anything wrong, or was he just manipulated?
He's directly responsible for the death of Ellie's parents, or at least one of them. Right?
Yeah, but it was like, you know how like QAnon conspiracy theorists weaponize the mentally ill?
Well, yeah.
Isn't that what happened with Hammer? Sort of, he was weaponized by Solaris because he had a drive to be as strong as his bro.
He should not have been enabled with weapons.
Yeah.
But as part of his vast network, he was inevitably going to be swallowed by all of that stuff. Especially since he was at a detrimental inferiority. You know what? Now's not the time to debate.
Eric, are you saying that Hammer should have pulled himself up by the bootstraps and started a legit business like Stringer Bell?
Well, look what happened to Stringer Bell, right?
Well, get on with it, motherfucker.
He got double murdered.
It's true.
So I went to the engine room one last time.
Yeah, nothing real new is going on there.
Well, I have a question there. How long has there been a dog wearing a red neckerchief down there?
Yeah, the dog's been there for a while.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
The dog's always been there.
Right.
The dog, he mans the engines.
Of course he does. So did you go to the doctor's office?
I did. She's back to her old self again.
Hell yeah, dude. What'd she say?
She says, fight to your heart's content and go get injured to your heart's content, which is a wonderful, beautiful line of dialogue from a random NPC.
She's realistic.
She is...
random NPC? No, sir. The doctor.
I'm talking about from a non-portrait character, I should say. She is now re-obsessed with Viscera for the final time, going into the final battle. The battle to dictate the future of the Earth and all of its people. She just wants to see somebody's fucking arm get broken.
Yeah.
In the wrong direction.
This could have been an event that happens in the wrong direction, so there's scissor people.
Yeah.
This could have been an event that happens all the time throughout the game. But did you... Remember the guy in the corner who's like, there's a running gag where the doctor keeps fucking him up more?
Yeah, you talked to him again?
Yeah, did you speak to him again?
Yeah, he's like, let's go fight, guys. Let's go.
Fight to your heart's content. Or no, I'm sorry. He says, we're going to give it all we've got for the young master.
Yeah, and then the lights go out.
He jumps in celebration.
Oh, okay.
And the lights go out. And when the lights come back on, he's all fucked up in a sling.
Is this like a situation in like a football game where somebody jumps up and like the chest bump and they come down and tear their ACL?
I think he threw it on purpose. I think he's a coward.
Okay, gotcha.
Because he's like, well, I would go help out if I wasn't so injured.
Yeah.
So that's a nice gag. As far as I know, nobody in the bunk has anything new to say.
Yeah, I didn't get anything new. It was mostly just people talking about giving it all for the young master and whatnot. Next, where'd you go next?
Margie's room.
Me too. Did you have Bart with you still?
I did.
Me too.
Bonds of Sea and Fire plays.
Yeah, it's nice that this song comes on. This is the last time this song plays in the game. It's one of my favorite tracks. Margie talks to Bart if you have him there. I assume this only happens if you have Bart. I don't know if he comes in the room otherwise. She says young master, which is a weird thing to call for her to call Bart. You better not die, promise me. Bart tells her to stop saying that, and Margie tells Bart that she's sorry, but she's just hoping to be closer. You know.
When you come back, ... I'm going to ... maybe I could be ... closer ... you know.
Yes.
Is she looking for physical contact?
She is looking for physical contact, and she is still hoping that Bart has not outlawed incest, I guess.
Yeah. Bart's like, hold up, do you know what you're saying, Margie?
Yeah, we're cousins. That's not what he says, but okay.
And then Margie's like, hi, I'm just kidding, but, you know, if you want to, I would, even though I'm just kidding. It's where you kind of fish for like an answer for a person without admitting an insecurity.
Again, for the entirety of this podcast, I've been uncomfortable with this. I continue to pray to God that Margie and Bart are like fifth cousins.
Yeah.
And I can rationalize it in that way.
Like before this game came out, there was kind of suspected to be fake controversy about how it handles religion. It might get banned, which may not have actually happened, just been like a media conspiracy to hype up the game.
Yeah, definitely.
This is what they actually should have been talking about.
You know what? You're totally right. But, I mean, this is the final Bart Margie scene.
That's it. This is all we get.
There's a photo of their not a photo, but
She's in the final scene, right? Like in the background as there's some running.
Yeah. But this is the final time that we get any intimacy between the two. But there is a photo or a drawing of them in the perfect works of them like in a wedding outfit.
Okay, cool, great.
Which is
they
great.
to consummate that.
Yeah.
Cool.
So whatever. Stay tuned for our mini-series on the perfect works. It's great. It's fun to record at least. Also, Chu-Chu.
Yes, Chu-Chu is not available in our party.
No, and Chu-Chu is missing. Margie tells us that Chu-Chu is missing, which I assume that's what she says if you don't have Bart here. She's just like, hey guys, can't fucking find the Chu-Chu. And we are left to our own to figure out the mystery of where Chu-Chu is.
Doesn't she give you a hint as to where, like, I last saw her in the gear hangar?
I'm not
are we just supposed to find her there?
I think we're just supposed to find her there,
Okay.
but I'm not 100% sure.
Either way, the gear hangar is naturally your next place to explore.
Yes, and throughout this podcast, I have given the lowdown on all of the gears as told by the mechanics that are maintaining those gears, and I have some additional lowdowns.
For our new Omni gears?
Yes, would you like to hear them?
Hit me, because I wrote none of those down.
Good. This makes up for me missing 2 rooms in the Snowfield hideout, I guess. Lowdown number 1, Xenogears.
Huh. What's that one?
The mechanic says, Veltal 2 was transformed after its contact with Zohar, which is actually a question I had. Like, is Xenogears just a new thing, or was it a transformation of Veltal 2 and they just left, or did they just leave Veltal 2?
In my head, Veltal 2 was, you know how it's black on the outside?
Yeah.
Just turned all its parts inside out.
Oh.
So the white paint was on the inside.
I don't think that's how it works, but okay.
No, it probably transubstantiated, but
Yeah.
let's just pretend that was the black box.
Gift from God. Okay, detailed specs cannot be ascertained by measuring the devices here. But then again, I wonder whether this gear has a limited ability to measure at all. It almost seems that this gear gets stronger and stronger as Faye's mental powers increase.
When he stops having internal crises.
Anyhow,
Crises.
the engine seems to have been left in there from before, so it should still require fuel as before. But it wouldn't surprise me if this thing doesn't need fuel anymore. Foreshadowing, LOL.
Can you run out of fuel with Xenogears and it still works?
Well, that happens later in the game, but I don't know. I didn't actually try to make it lose all
It's
the
just
fuel.
for, yeah.
But it can run. Basically, he's telling us that this thing can fucking run without an engine.
Oh,
So,
I see what you mean. Yeah, that happens later.
The next, I went and got the lowdown on the Invari. Do you know if we've gotten the lowdown on the Invari in our podcast yet?
No.
I don't know either, so I'm going to read it now.
Let's do it.
Invari. It was created by 2 of the sages of Shavat, Balthazar and Melchior. They made it using the data on the Omni gear left by Ronnie Fatima, an ancestor of the young master, and the data obtained from Xenogears. That makes no sense, because we had it prior to having Xenogears. Doesn't make any goddamn sense.
Well, weren't they going to improve all of our gears with technology from Xenogears?
Oh yeah, Taura
Maybe
was
it's a
gonna-
botched reference to that.
That's probably the case, because that comes up again later. It is a combination of the latest gear technology and nanotechnology, but the performance is the same as when it was an Omni gear. Even when it was found hidden underground in Nissan, its basic weapon equipment was the whip. That must mean the young master's ancestors must have used whips and rods too. I guess it's in the blood, huh? Which this person must have been on our podcast, listened to our podcast, because I think we talked about how weird it was that the gear that Bart found in the crypt was very similar to the gear that Bart already had. So shout out to you, mechanic guy.
Young Master's ancestors is also fun to say.
Yes, it is fun to say. I had a hard time with it. Next, I have Fenrir.
Citan's gear,
Yes,
with the shitty sword in your case.
indeed. It was created by 2 of the sages of Shavat, Balthasar and Melchior. They used the data from the Omni gear Fenril with an L. Which
Is that an RL Japan
Yes.
confusion? Okay.
brought from Solaris by the Doctor in Phase Xenogears. Don't know.
Great.
It is a combination of the latest gear technology and nanotechnology. The default equipment is the sword, which seems to be the doctor's weapon of choice. Whatever. This was one of those like...
Fuck it, man.
Yeah, fuck it, man. Just put something in there. And the last two are the... I believe we already read Crescent's in a previous podcast. I hope we did because I didn't write it down. I also have the Renmazuo and the Steer here. I'm going to read them together because they're the same except for the description of the weapon. Like the other Omnigears, it was at one point in an anima relic absorbed by Deus and deactivated. However, using the data from Xenogears as a base, the sages of Shivat, Balthasar, and Melchior reconstructed it.
Cool.
It's all gibberish. It makes no fucking sense. But I think they're all trying to relay the fact that the sages of Shivat have helped us install some nanotechnology firmware on these things so we can beat the boss.
Yeah, the sages who can't leave their hut, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Faxed in the instructions. So then there's one more gear left.
There's one more gear in the spot where the Wyrms used to be.
Yes.
It is not a gear at all. It is Chu-Chu. The fucking mechanic doesn't notice it.
Yeah.
Because you talk to the mechanic.
He just sees pink.
I think you're right. He does see pink.
But something important also happens. It starts playing the sky, the clouds, and you. Isn't that what that's called?
The Chu-Chu, the clouds, and you, the sky, the clouds, and you, something like that. Yeah.
Either way, here, listen to that song from the Xenogears album, Creid, with lyrics.
Ooh, yeah, it's great. It's a wonderful track. I love this one.
You ask the guy for the lowdown on the gear, and he's like, Chu-Chu, what are you doing here? And then he asks her to, quote, go eat food and take a nap.
Yeah, you don't need any maintenance work. You're in the way. Get out of here, Chu-Chu.
I love, it's just a dumb screwball comedy thing for Chu-Chu, full-sized, like, staring face forward, not moving, and this dude just doesn't notice him because he just sees, oh yeah, there's a pink thing there, good enough.
But there's kind of a heartfelt reason why Chu-Chu is here.
Yes, this is round 2 of Chu-Chu's character development.
Indeed. Chu-Chu turns around. I'm exhausted, Chu. Since you're here, I'd like a massage. Just kidding. Chu-Chu then turns back around, and the Lost Broken Shard starts to play.
Yeah.
Which is...
It's great.
It is great.
Perfect.
I totally did not expect it at all. It really...
It fits the character.
It took me by surprise. Chu-Chu says, Ellie, she was so kind. I know I'm not the only one to miss her. I know Bart, Margie, Billy, Citan, Rico, Maria, Emeralda, and Faye.
Got them all.
All do Chu. Although they don't say it, I can feel it. Apparently, Chu-Chu has telepathic abilities, maybe.
Yes.
Standing here, I remember her kind and gentle smile. Ellie will return, won't she?
Faye thanks Chu-Chu for trying to reduce all of the tension, and eventually Chu-Chu resolves to go back to, quote, the room, after Faye convinces her that Margie must be worried.
When Faye asks her, or when Faye commends Chu-Chu for the tension from the scene, Faye acknowledges the purpose of all wisecracking creatures in all forms of media, which is to remove the tension.
Yes.
Like, you exist in media because of, we need a tension reliever, we need a mascot character, and now I'm going to acknowledge you for that, so thank you for serving your purpose, Chu-Chu.
And this concludes, actually, Chu-Chu's got some dialogue in the endgame, so that's not all we get from Chu-Chu in this game.
Once Chu-Chu goes back and you go talk to her, she has a new line as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even go do that. What does she say?
She says, I may have been getting in everyone's way up to now, but I can't stand to think Faye and all his friends may perish away like us, referring to the Chu-Chu tribe.
Yeah.
I'm going to fight so that this kind of thing never happens to anyone again. Beautiful. Which is beautiful. And depending on how you sort of roll your characters here at the end, Chu-Chu can be very, very valuable in the final battles. And I like to think that Chu-Chu finally found her place in the world and was able to contribute.
Unlike Hammer.
Unlike Hammer.
Who died. When you go to launch the Yggdrasil, Sigurd, Bart, and Faye have a bit of a heartfelt conversation about saving Ellie. Sigurd resolves to fight by Faye's side just as he once helped them fight for Ave. So Sigurd is sort of acknowledging, hey man, you helped us fight for Ave, now we got your back. Sigurd really doesn't have a choice here because he's going to die otherwise, but it is nice to have,
continuity.
Some this final moment of Sigurd in his bro fist.
It also helps kind of sell the world when every time you launch the Yggdrasil from now on, Sigurd always says, let's go to win ourselves true freedom.
Yeah, that's true.
Like reminding you every time, all right, man, are we doing it this time?
Yeah, we're fucking doing
freedom.
It. No, we're just flying to Citan's house. Eric, have you ever been to the xenosaga.fandom.com or whatever the fuck it's called?
Saga or Gears?
Well, the Xenogears and the Xenosaga wiki are all like
they're
thing.
all I reference them from time to time. Yeah.
So at some point in time, I read the Emeralda page, and there is a footnote there about how the music box was originally supposed to be a gift from Kim to Emeralda.
Music box in Citan's tool shed.
Yes, exactly.
Where he tinkers with his junk.
Exactly. The place where he tinkers with his junk. Indeed.
Daddy's secret shed.
Yes. So there is a implication that maybe there's a scene there if you take her back there.
Mm-hmm. This game to set precedent for taking Emeralda to places to get scenes.
There is not a scene there when you take her now or when you take her after her scene, because I did that and it was a colossal waste of time. I had to climb up the mountain and fight wolves and do all the dumb stuff that you have to do to get to Citan's house, jump over the fucking cliffs, cross the bridge, go there, go into the shed, and the note that is there about it being a gift to a daughter has no implication that it was ever from Kim and that it was ever supposed to be from Emeralda.
But yeah, who else would this have ever been for in this video game? I think maybe the point of that, like, you can go there now with context in your brain, not to retrieve a physical item or to get a different scene, but to know who it was for. Because if I didn't have this conversation with you right now, I'd have never remembered that was made for Emeralda.
Yeah, but was it?
Who else could it have been? There's no random stuff in this game, right? There's no pointless plot activity.
It's true, but I'm reading it more along the lines of like that music box existed simply for the purposes of foreshadowing towards the beginning of the game.
It could, but then check this out. Like, why is that the only place you can go back to?
Yeah.
Like, there has to be a reason to go back there and nod your head and go, oh, yeah, that's right.
To get Midori's ring?
Possibility.
Sure.
Can you go inside Citan's house? Did you try that?
It's all still there. The spirits and the hot sauce and the Chinese characters on the wall, all that stuff, it's all still there.
I wonder why that didn't get annihilated in the blaze. I do know that Citan's house is amongst the highest places of elevation in the world that isn't Babel Tower or a secret question for your next quiz.
Maybe he knew.
He built his house up high to avoid
terraforming.
Yeah.
The impacts of terraforming. So, yeah. That didn't happen. I tried it both now and I tried it later after the Emeralda scene that we'll talk about soon.
But we thank you for your service, Chris.
Yeah, I definitely did that. I went to Taura's house next.
Okay. You walk into Taura's house, which is on the continent of what's left of Elru on the east side of the map.
Yes, he's in the middle of a forest, and you go into his house.
We didn't get to walk around. Like, we got to be outside last time, but we didn't have agency to walk around his house, did we?
Briefly, because you go outside and have a conversation with Ellie.
I know, but do you control walking around?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
do. He has the same, like there's an asset there that is like, it looks like a giant bottle of hot sauce. I think it's just 2 different bottles of liquor.
Mhm.
And having recently been to Citan's house, the exact same asset is in both.
Oh.
So the implication being, at least in my brain, that Citan and Taura both drink the same liquor.
Yeah, or one was their hot sauce supplier.
Yeah, indeed.
So did we say that Singing of the Gentle Wind is playing when we walk in here?
You know what? We didn't say that, and I didn't even note that. So congrats on getting that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Singing of the Gentle Wind, that's the Citan's house song, right?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Initializing fake net.
The boys are actually thinking of the valley where the wind is born. I'll play that, since it's the correct song.
So
Yeah, right? More connections.
Maybe, I think we recently, or not recently, but at some point during this podcast, we wondered if maybe Singing of the Gentle Wind is the theme of Primera and Midori because it played during the Primera speaking scene to Jesse. Now I think it's the theme of the hot sauce in this game. So wherever there's hot sauce present, this theme will be playing.
The last available spice.
I guess. Taura doesn't have much to say, but he does tell us that we're looking mighty healthy.
Yes. He wants us to help us more, but says his body can't survive unless it breathes the air here. He thinks he's just about ready to meet his maker. Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
Is he like, oh, ho, ho, like Santa Claus laughing there?
I think so.
Okay.
Or, oh, ho, 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 like,
Yeah.
like yeah.
Taura does have some presents for us.
He does. He has a manly mantle.
That is defense up. When the ally is KO'd, it gets a bonus, unlike the hero costume where it lowers.
So is the implication here that if you're manly, if your friends die?
Yeah, that like you get inspired by their death.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
It's plus 235 defense.
Sure. Yeah, why not?
He also gives you the female side, the goddess robe, which is good regular defense and good ether defense.
Yes, I put this on my friend Emeralda.
Taura then tells us the fate of the world is in our hands, but he's good just watching from here.
Yeah, he's good. He did show up on the Excalibur that one point in time to tell us that he's
been doing repairs to all this shit, all of our gears.
Yeah, he must have been doing all this nanotechnology or anti-nanotechnology stuff.
Maybe with the world terraforming, the carbon dioxide count's getting too high and he needs the trees to purify the air around his house.
Yeah, that's the way I read it is too. Also, he's a weird-looking blue guy.
Yeah,
so.
he's a weird-looking dude.
Yeah.
So Taura's house also carries something from my past for the Xenogears.
Oh.
There's a unique enemy. They're in all the forests of the land, but at the time I thought they were only in the forest next to Taura's house. They're called Sluggers.
Oh.
They're like little cocker spaniel white dog looking things.
Oh.
And what's unique about these is they have a chance to rarely drop speed shoes, which is probably my favorite item in the game. And it does auto haste on your character and your fucking gear. You're in booster mode all the time.
Yeah, and you kind of need to conserve fuel later in the game too, so it helps.
Yeah, you do. We'll talk about that. So here's the thing is I have memories when I was a kid of fighting these things over and over and over.
Yeah.
To get speed shoes, like hours when I was a kid. And eventually I got one for every single party member because guess what? I had that kind of time.
Of course you did.
And I didn't know what I was facing at the end there, so I had to be prepared. As an adult, I did, first off, they were a rare encounter. You get the little sprout potato things you fight a lot and some elephant looking things. And they're a very rare encounter. And even then, they seem to never drop speed shoes. So I Googled it and every resource I could find says you need the trader card for them to drop speed shoes.
Oh, that's the thing you get from beating Hammer.
Yes. And I know for a fact I didn't get that when I was younger, and I certainly don't have it now.
Right.
So I thought it was futile, and eventually I just gave up. Like I got into about 5 battles with them for about 3 hours and didn't get anything.
And there are no speed shoes that we have already at this point in time.
If you found the Chu-Chu room, there's a pair up there, and they also can be won with battling points in the battle arena, but it's a shitload of points.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, no speed shoes for me.
Oh.
Not at all for Chris, because Chris missed that room.
Because I suck at this game.
And that's all for Taura, correct?
It is indeed.
Hey you! Yeah you! Do you like podcasts? Are you into anime? Does analysis happen to tickle your pickle?
Then look no further. Here at the Spirit Hunters podcast, we happen to love all three.
Every week, we'll be watching, recapping, and analyzing episodes of Yoshihiro Togashi's famous manga and anime, Hunter x Hunter.
Check us out at the Spirit Hunters on the Greenlit Podcast Network.
In this quarter on the Greenlit Podcast Network, Chris Sims and Matt Wilson. And in this quarter, VHS oddities, confusing animation, and modern not-so-classics.
Plus snacks, movie fighters.
We watch movies and beat them up. Let's do Duneman Isle. I went to Duneman Isle. Did you have any idea where the fuck this thing was?
No. I had to look it up.
Guess what? Neither did the captain.
Yeah, right?
He just knew it existed.
It's in the center of it, kind of by Bart's hideout.
Yeah.
It's like a landmass that pulled up from the bottom of the ocean or some shit.
You can kind of tell there's some geometry on this island.
Yeah, there's like caves or something like that.
And it's kind of hard to find a place to land the Yggdrasil because
you can only land on greenery or snow.
It's invisible. It's sort of invisible in terms of like where the barrier to Duneman's Isle ends and begins and where the world map is.
Yeah.
Once you actually get on there, the Dunemen, they are delightful because they are having a introductory battle rap or something.
Well, yeah, but before you encounter them, Tim's Man of the Sea plays.
Yes,
and then it shows that this area has sand waterfalls.
Yeah.
So it's a different environment we haven't seen yet in this video game.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get there, and the Dune Men look like the Sandmen, but their complexion's kind of darker, and their clothes are slightly golder. And they all come to greet us, and like you said, they're having like a rap battle. They all start finishing each other's sentences, getting like a cadence of like a rap. They open with, yo, weird to marry Dune Man, and then the other two repeat Dune Man after he says Dune Man.
Yeah, it's delightful.
It's very late 80s rap.
Yeah.
The next one is, one of them says, looking for treasure, and then the other two instantly say, West Side Ho and East Side Yo.
Mm-hmm.
Ho like ho, not the loose woman from earlier or gardening tool, but yo ho ho.
Yeah.
Then they say, this is our turf, aw yeah. And they say, nah, there ain't no place for gears here, which means you can't use your gears here.
Right.
And they also say it's not a place for wimps like y'all because the sand is always changing and dangerous, which implies that this is a confusing place.
Also true.
Then they tell us to go home in capital letters. And then the game asks if we want to go home.
And of course we don't.
Hell no, we don't. If we say no, they call us stubborn and then they fight us.
Yeah, they're just regular ass little Dune men.
Yeah,
though.
they go down in like one, not even a death blow, just like one hit.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're disposed of. I think we just murdered I think there's, I should have looked it up in Perfect Works, but I want to say these are some like a crazed band of outdoor survivors.
Yeah.
Like trying to make the best of it in this fucked up area.
Yeah. The first note I have here is there's dragons here because that's the first random battle I got into.
Yes.
A three-dimensional dragon.
Yes, these are also in Snowfield, and they're also in the Disc 1 in the Snowfield as well.
And they're also in the ruins that we're going to go to later, yes.
What's unique about these dragons, if I can spoil a question from a future Perfect Works quiz?
Sure, go ahead.
What's unique about them, Chris?
They're strong. They give you a certain item. They can kill you. They are dragons in a world where we have not been predisposed to understanding that there are dragons.
My pet theory on that is they crawl out of Zeboim.
Yeah.
They just, anyway, but no, they crawl, they don't fly. These dragons have evolved over time to crawl instead of fly.
Oh, cool.
So you notice they crawl on 4 legs at some point when you fight them.
No. Good observation.
Yeah.
Cool.
So anyway, yeah, there's dragons here. This is a 3D dungeon, which we don't really have a lot of, I'm using air quotes, but open space dungeons.
Yeah, I mean,
where there's multiple access.
Yeah.
As opposed to tunnels and stuff.
The most open world dungeon I think we've had was like the Black Moon Forest, maybe.
That, and at some point it uses the same sprites when Faye was out lost in the desert when the dirt bikes came.
Yeah, briefly.
Like it has that same dune thing. So yeah, you move across different screens to left and right, and eventually, did you get to the school of sand sharks that was hopping around?
Yeah, I think that's an indicator that you're making progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to follow them, I think, but if you actually, I think you follow them to leave, but if you keep going the other direction, you arrive at a big dragon skeleton.
Yes.
And what can you do with that very clumsily?
Very clumsily, you can kind of climb up its spine and pull out the Yamato sword.
Yes. There is a sword right in the back of it, which, just as the captain said, the rumors were indeed true. This is the great beast that ancient hero felled. What happens after you pull out the sword?
The whole fucking thing falls apart.
Yeah, dude, it rumbles and falls apart in the sand.
I then came to the realization that this sword is not for the gear, and I'm never going to use it.
Right? Right? It's a really good sword for Citan.
But unfortunately,
what are you going to fight?
There's just not much left to do in this game on foot, which is something that I kind of wish I wish the final dungeon would have been a combination of the two things, where you had to be both prepared from a party perspective and a gear perspective, but you don't.
You know how it's 2 floors? Like, what if one floor was gear and one floor was person?
That would have been awesome, but I'm sure there was concessions had to be made.
Yeah, gotta finish this video game. But not much else here. Eventually, we can make it to the top of that sand seafall that we saw earlier. And you know what you get? Mini game you get to play now?
You get to play. Pachinko. Jump on the rocks. Plinko.
I couldn't jump. Like, what happens is you get stuck in this sand flow, and then there's 2 treasure chests that are also flowing with it.
Yeah.
And the idea is to catch up with them and reveal what's in the stupid chests. But you kind of bounce in between the rocks, and I just fell over the goddamn edge.
I looked down to take some notes.
Uh-huh. And you were gone?
I looked up, and I was falling in the fucking waterfall. I then went to the FAQ to see what the items were.
Yes, I did the exact same thing.
And I did not go back and get them.
No, I was like, I don't need any of that.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't seem like one-of-a-kind stuff. I think it was good gear, like a goddess robe maybe, but it wasn't something essential.
Yeah, at the bottom, a giant worm pops out of the sand waterfall. It's the same worm, which you can also encounter this in random battles here, but it's the same worm that Groff called out from the desert during the very first Blood Moon desert encounter with Groff.
Yes.
Way back when.
Night of Fire plays.
Big slurp. Night of Fire plays.
Initializing fake net.
I know what they said, but I'm playing Stage of Death from Myth right now because we've heard Night of Fire a zillion times.
And you fight it, and you can kill it in one hit.
I couldn't.
Because you didn't use an ether attack.
Right, all my shit was doing 1 damage, even death blow combos.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, fuck.
This was like the original tutorial battle to teach you that you can also use ether attacks in a gear.
Yeah.
Even though throughout most of this game, using ether attacks in a gear is useless unless you've properly spec'd.
Yeah. Well, if you're like me and you last played that 6 months ago, then perhaps you've forgotten that very important lesson.
Yes, at some point in time, perhaps soon, maybe on the next episode of this podcast, I would like to have a conversation about what's it like to play this game over the course of 6 and 7 months, because it's weird.
It'd be good for the epilogue. So, do you know how I beat this?
How?
I just earned my very special boy spell at this point.
Oh,
Big Bang.
Big Bang? Yeah.
Have we talked about Big Bang yet?
Not since we did the patreon.com/RetroAM episode on the demo disc in which you have this to start.
Yeah, you also have Big Bang. Big Bang destroys the universe.
Yeah,
it blinks the world out of existence.
I always thought this skill was super funny.
Yeah,
but
it's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
It's Sephiroth's summon.
Yeah, it is. But I did sort of start to think about it in a, like, what this means from a more...
Is this Deus's power?
I think it's representative of Faye existing throughout multiple lives and multiple timelines. I mean, I know this is not a multiple timeline game. We have enough of those these days.
Yeah, but is it the gun that shoots you in your own forehead, right? Like, if you're going to blow up the planet with a magic attack to kill a worm in a desert you shouldn't be in full of savages, then...
Yeah, I feel like the universe that is being destroyed in this Big Bang attack, which is one of Vegeta's attacks when he first learned how to become a Super Saiyan, but I feel like the universe that is being destroyed is in a parallel universe, and Faye is merely summoning that chi, the chi generated by the destruction or the birth of a universe, to kill a worm.
Okay.
So that's my read on it. I think it was just
it's a metaphor.
Misallocated graphics and animation resources to design a summon.
Yeah, because that's not a cheap effect.
No.
Someone did all that stuff.
I think there's probably a lot of animations in this game that are cool. Like, a lot of Emeralda spells, a lot of Ellie spells are cool that don't really need to be used for hardly any battle, if any, during this game.
I do feel like whatever team was responsible for the battle animations and those mechanics either had more of a budget or more time than the environmental artists or the scenario planning or any of that stuff. Like, they were able to actually finish their work.
We're speculating here, but this is Takahashi's first directorial experience here, right?
Correct.
So at some point in time, somebody probably said, make a bunch of magic and battle animations, and then they had them, so they put them in the game
and he
somewhere.
turns in a bunch of troll hitting out hit and miss signs.
Yeah.
Not troll, mole.
Yeah, somebody put in the fucking cartoon moles. Forgot about that. Wow. So yeah, anyway, most of that stuff is cool, but this is just, it feels out of place.
It's ridiculous. So we fall back down, and then to exit this place, you go to your left.
You go to your left.
You go to your left.
A Dune Man is there.
I didn't know.
You didn't see this?
No.
Wow, a Dune Man with a blue trailer and a truck asks us to push his truck out of the sand.
Oh, cool.
When you do, he offers you to hitch a ride, and you get into his blue truck, and he takes you back to the world map.
I didn't find this man.
How the fuck did you leave then?
I wandered around for 7-8 minutes. Then I found my way back to the entrance.
What are the battles here? It's Dune Men, dragons. Is there anything else? Sand sharks?
You can run to Wyrms. There are also sand sharks, and I think that's it.
Okay, cool. And that's the only legitimate side quest dungeon in this video game.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Well, no, there's two. There's another one coming up. Zeboyum.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My bad.
I mean, it's the only one with a boss.
The only one that's referenced anywhere, right? Nobody ever even references Zeboyum. The lighthouse is even a position on the map. It's just there.
Yeah, it's weird. I wonder a lot of things.
So we've got one more place left to go, at least.
I have Nortune down next.
Nortune is next.
I went to Nortune.
Kislev.
Did you note the music that is playing here now?
The one who was torn apart.
Yeah, it makes Nortune an even sadder place than it already was.
It's scary because it still has those kind of like steam gurgling noises.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's now permanent night here. And the whole mini-map of Nordtune, of Kislev, is scarred by that bombing run from Dominia.
Yes.
Like, this place looks fucked up. They actually changed the bitmap of the texture map.
Yeah.
It's bombed out, man. But the steam still flows.
It does.
Chris, did you talk to where the Yggdrasil 4 used to be?
Yes. What's it called?
It's a blue crystal. It's the item exchange thing?
It had a name for it. The B item something.
The B block item thing?
I don't
know. Struggles to deliver words. It's all fucked up.
Yeah, it's like a fucked up vendor terminal.
But it will still pay us.
For like hob jerky and fangs and stuff?
Yeah, it'll fangs, steaks, and ivory. And unlike the other guy there's a guy I think in the Ave marketplace who would trade you money for stuff, but he would do it one at a time. You can do it in bulk here.
That sucked. But yeah, you can. Unfortunately, all the optional items that I had already sold to a regular vendor because I didn't know this was here. Yeah.
Yeah, I already did a bunch of my ivory.
Yeah.
So that's all. Then you can go, like, D block's closed, A block's closed. You can go back in the battle arena, though.
Yes.
And when I walked in there, it was playing Bonds of Sea and Fire. Maybe it's random because of the jukebox.
Maybe it was. I don't remember what it was playing for me. I didn't write it down. It definitely was not Bonds of Sea and Fire because I think I would have noticed that.
Yeah, it's a possibility. There are a lot of people here, and I think they're all important, but who do you gravitate to immediately?
Big Joe.
You're in the battle arena. It's in the, like, reception area right before you walk in.
Right.
And Big Joe's there.
Yes, he says, destruction was poured onto our entire world. Death poured down on all the living. It was fate. Unavoidable fate.
Damn, Joe.
Allow me to show my appreciation for all you have done, fellas. There's no comma between done and fellas, by the way. So he's talking like you talk on Twitter when you're just not punctuating things.
Yes.
Then he goes on to explain that he brought something here.
Yeah.
What is it?
No,
Eric?
it's not brought. Rescued.
Oh, rescued. Yeah,
he rescued something.
He rescued something.
It's the jukebox from the bar that he disappeared, that he sold you the garbage from and then teleported.
Yes, the Wildcat. At one point,
Wildcat bar, yeah.
Yeah, at one point in time we had to meet Hammer here, and the only other thing I remember were there were cats, and there was the girl from the dragon tribe that had a crush on like a fucking hamster or something.
Yeah.
All
Wasn't there the upstairs meeting room for Diana and her mom?
I think that was her. I think that was the neighbor's house.
Okay, yeah, my bad. So
thanks, Big Joe.
Big Joe says that he had to replace the face of it and was sad about getting rid of the old grain look. But this new faux marble design looks groovy.
Yeah, faux marble. Sure, great. He's got like a Xbox 360 faceplate.
Yeah, interchangeable faceplate.
Yeah.
Wood grain. Chris, you had the M disc, right? Because you bought that thing for 3,000 gold.
I did. I can't remember if that was before or after I changed my save. But
it was after, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
Did you play any music?
I did. I played music, but it's not proper. The tracks aren't properly labeled.
Oh, it's like they were last time.
Yeah.
So, Chris, I didn't have the M disc.
Oh.
And do you know what Joe said?
What did he say?
He said he gave the M disc to, quote, the girlies in the old imperial capital.
Oh.
He also says the disc was rare and valuable because it was full of ether logic.
Weird.
Yeah.
Wow. No, so the tracks aren't weirdly labeled like they were the jukebox in Shavat. They're weirdly labeled where you have to, like, they're all in sub-menus, and you pick them based on the emotion that you want to go for. Like, so they're all labeled by various emotions, and then once you pick them, it's just like track 1, track 2, track 3. So it's very hard to find the track that you're actually looking for.
Well, yeah, but if you're in a place where you want to battle and you want theme music, you want to go harder, you want to go light.
Yeah, that's true.
So did you talk to anybody else here?
Yes.
Did you talk to the Amazoness? She says some grim-ass shit. She says the Empire of Kislev and the Kingdom of Ave no longer exist.
That's true.
And called the survivors in the snowfield the last stand of the living.
Yep.
There's another Amazoness that says she abandoned this place once, but she can't turn her back now. She would protect this place even if the world was destroyed. There's some Stockholm Syndrome stuff.
Yeah, I think she has no choice but to like, the fight is the blood of all life, you know. She definitely, like...
She lives for this shit?
Yeah, exactly. That's a better way to say it. The last person is Diana.
No, there's a battler that asked if we heard the rumors, then came here to Kislev. The world has been shattered by angels of death, but we still live on like this. This is not the end for us. I'll fight to the end, which is very childhood's end of the last survivors killing each other for sport.
Yeah, nothing left to do.
But yeah, the last person, as you said, is Diana. It actually calls her Diana here. She identified as Diana last time, but I don't think it said her name at the very top of anything. What did Diana say?
Her general shtick here is that she's hopeful, but she's coping in this situation because she's rationalizing the world state as the, quote, planet has just returned to its original state.
Yeah, primordial ooze, I guess.
Yeah, either that or it's like a a Final Fantasy VII-esque thing where like the planet is eliminating humanity.
There's a lot in Perfect Works about how this planet was full of actual animals before we got here, and they all started mutating and getting fucked up as soon as humans, or whatever these people are, started coming here, and it started changing.
Oh, so the Hobbs weren't gross. They were just little...
Yeah, everything was kind of a normal animal.
It was
as
Chu-Chu,
far as
basically.
I understand it, yeah.
Okay. Then that's it. You can do some battling.
She looks into Faye's eyes, and she knows that he hasn't lost hope either, and she recalls the day he showed up in D-Block.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, then there's battling, and there's a new thing here. You can earn battle points by fighting in Special Mode 2.
Yes.
And trade for rare items like Billy and Faye dolls, GNRS 50s, which are really good, X and S chargers. But when you fight in Special Battle Mode 2, you can only use Faye's gears, Weltall, Veltall 2, and Xenogears.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So kudos to them for getting some copies of Veltall.
Sure, yeah. They just...
Fucking Kislev.
Yeah. Maybe you're right about the whole like black box folding in, folding out thing with Xenogears.
Right. So... I think we mentioned this in the last podcast, but the jukebox will carry over whatever you want to play in a battle.
Yep.
And then the battle points that you get reflect the severity of your victory based on 8 different levels. And it's judged by metrics like the amount of damage you received.
Cool.
And then if you go all the way through the last dungeon and then come back out, like when you go through the last dungeon, there's an option to go back out of the world map.
Right.
You get 2 things. One is gear level 2, which is a harder difficulty, but you get more BP.
Cool.
And then 2, you get to use Ellie's gear. Regulators. And then I think we mentioned this on our Patreon gear podcast, but you can unlock one secret gear, Argento, which is a very shiny silver battle arena gear with a massive claw on one of its arms. To unlock it, you have to fight 3 rounds against every gear on the battling roster and win on hard setting. If the player accomplishes this, it'll be unlocked. I don't think you can lose.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say you didn't do this.
No, I didn't do this.
I didn't do this either, Eric.
That seems insane to do that. I mean, with save states, maybe that seems possible, but that thing's already a cheese fest anyway. Although I did learn through more research, trying to get a picture of Argento, because I have no idea what this thing looks like.
Yeah.
You can fight it randomly if you set it to random. It will occasionally pop up.
Oh, cool.
So there is the opportunity. There's no footage of this anywhere, unless someone on YouTube doing it randomly fought them.
Yeah.
Because I can't look at every single video capture.
No, this podcast is not comprehensive like we say it is.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, so is that all you did there?
That's it.
You know, I found it interesting too that there's like a Faye and a Billy doll that you can win here.
There has to be everyone, right? Because there's the Emeralda one you got in Shavad.
You get the Ellie doll too, I think, if you win 5 rounds of speed cards against Kana and in Shavad. And so that makes me think that like several weeks have passed since like the end of the previous chapter, and like Faye and everybody have become celebrities.
Yeah.
There's dolls made of them because, you know, people have nothing better to do at this point in time except for just hope that the world is not going to end.
Yeah.
So
I do like... It's not quite a side quest, but the game, you know, the battle arena is its signature mini game, and it opens it up to 2 players. The roster expands. You get all the Sufals and all the other weird enemies at this point.
Yeah.
Like it's a nice thing to throw in on disc 2 that it didn't necessarily have to do.
The pedestal.
Yeah, the pedestal.
All kinds of dumb things. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Of course, we would always wish there would be a bunch of like cool optional hard bosses that we could go after at this point in time, but at least there's this.
Yeah, there's no... Just throw in the ruby weapon, man. Come on.
Sure. Just copy paste it. It's fine. There's one more thing in Nortune.
Oh, what else is in Nortune, Chris?
I don't know how this happens, but there's also a dog in the overworld map that you can speak with.
A dog?
A dog.
Un perro.
Dog person or a dog?
No, just a dog. Faye says, this dog, it was his. And then it says, gave the dog food.
Yes.
So is this the same dog that you could give dog food earlier in the game?
Yeah.
During the gear dock raid sequence?
Yes, and that guy, he was in Krellion's lab jail. And he remembered Faye.
Oh.
He was like one of the blue guys in one of the first places you get into.
I remember now because he's like, don't you remember me and my dog or something like that nature. Yeah. So
I like that there's still continuity with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, but you don't get anything. You just give him the dog food and that's it.
I think you can pass by quietly, right? Oh, you mean right now? I think it's just to say, oh yeah, you gave him the dog food.
Yeah, sure. It's weird. It was totally weird.
But it's nice connections, this game. This game struggles to make connections across time like that.
Yeah, it does. It struggles that from a mechanical video game sense. It doesn't struggle with that from a narrative, but from like connecting the game, pieces of the game. There are a few things that it does that are interesting. Like the kids who, if you give them like 5,000 G early in the game, they open up a shop later in the game.
Yeah.
There's like little things like that.
The play.
Yeah, the play. All kinds of little tiny moments like that probably the contemporaries at the time maybe did a little bit, or maybe a lot more in the case of something like Chrono Trigger. But in this case, there's at least a few little nuggets there. But this one, to me, seemed to make no sense. But thank you for reminding me of the fucking guy in a cage. Hey, let's consult the RealNet, Eric.
Okay.
Initializing RealNet.
The RealNet is a collection of patrons that give us comments along the way as we're listening. No, they're listening. We're talking, they're listening.
Oh boy.
We're reading their comments.
Gotta be your bull.
Gotta be. Cliff Racer says, it was bad that it locked you out of locations, but it was cool that every PlayStation RPG involved the world getting destroyed somewhere around Act 3.
Yeah.
You could even take that back to Super Nintendo with Final Fantasy VI as well. Final Fantasy VI actually has the best sort of in-game scenario.
That's just dark.
Because, well, it's dark in terms of like the way the world is destroyed, but also like there is meaning in doing every side quest there because you're getting your characters back and you're doing round 2 and round 3 of their character development. Like it's the best executed version of that I can think of. Maybe you could maybe Chrono Trigger rivals that, but Final Fantasy VI maybe does it the best. I would like to do a podcast on that game one day.
Would you like to know the most underrated Final Fantasy?
Yes.
Type 0.
Okay, sure.
That's a take.
Okay. I have no comments, not played it, don't even know which continuity it exists in, but sure. Is it 13?
It was part of the 13 project.
Okay.
It was the PSP game that they up-res for PS4. Originally a mobile game.
Carfo says something that I don't want to hear, but I'm hearing it now. Perfect Works shows that Bart and Margie are first cousins.
Oh boy.
Carfo also says orange cats are the best.
I had an orange cat. He died in 2015. Saddest day of my life.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's all right.
In 2015. That's 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. This is a good point from Cliff Racer. Didn't they have to rebuild all the Omnigears after Deus ate them?
That's a good point, right?
Because remember, it absorbed them all in Merkava, like before Faye jumped in, kind of like the entire scene reset. And I was under the impression that it was just absorbing sort of the power of the anima relics or whatever.
Yeah.
But if it literally absorbed them, then perhaps that they did need to be rebuilt by these sages of...
Maybe that's why there's all that dialogue about them being repaired in the Yggdrasil.
Yeah, they had to justify it somewhere. So
like get all the LCL out of it.
Yeah, they shoved it in there so that people could finally, come to terms with why that was the way it was. By the way, Quicktacular does confirm that her cat's name is Franz.
Awesome. I bet that's tough to explain that it's not a reference to Dana Carvey and Kevin Nealon.
Yeah. Oh, another interesting fact about Quicktacular's cat, which I think is the most interesting topic of the evening.
Absolutely.
His name is Franz Ferdinand. Quicktacular
Archduke
did not name him. He was named at the shelter.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she kept the name.
Yeah, that is poetic almost. Like,
yeah.
I have to get Franz.
I have to get Franz.
I have to get Franz.
I changed my
Quicktacular got her career from Krelian and her cat's name from a dolphin in the same game. It's great.
Don't talk to any of your cousins.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Carfo says LOL.
I apologize for that.
Quicktacular says don't worry.
Okay. Kind of, I was like, did I just cross the fucked up line there?
No. I think people, if you're listening to us record this podcast live, you probably understand our particular brand of humor. So Alter Impulse says, oh my God, I overslept, which is why we didn't have any Alter Impulse comments tonight, because Alter Impulse is usually one of our more prolific commenters, but don't worry. We'll be back next week.
Don't worry. Sleep's cool, dude. Get it where you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Get that sleep. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned for the outtakes. This episode is a production of Retrograde Amnesia. Thank you, Eric, for all of your hard work editing the podcast. Thank you, Mark,
Shepard,
for the intro track. If you like the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/RetroAM. Yeah, thanks. /RetroAM. Get early access, bonus episodes, mini-series, and more. Find us on Twitter at Retro Amnesia Pod. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you happen to find podcasts on the internet. Please give us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It helps people discover the show. If you have questions or feedback, email the show at retrogradeamnesiapodcast@gmail.com. Shout out to the RealNet for joining us tonight. We appreciate you as always. That might be one of the more magnificent things about the show is that people listen to us record this shit live and then listen to it again 6 months later. It's great. Until next time.
Yes, we will kill God.
Soon. And now you may go back to sleep. We're going to do the lighthouse next time on the show. Okay.
Next time we'll cover the lighthouse.
Next time we'll cover the lighthouse and Big Joe.
End of the game.
Next time we'll cover Big Joe. Austin Walker was on a recent Great Gundam Project episode. It was great.
I listened to it. Actually, that was the first time I listened to Abnormal Mapping. Was their Final Fantasy spoiler cast?
Oh, okay, okay. They did they just started Gundam Wing recently, and he was on that.
Name a JRPG where there's no robot. Go.
Final Fantasy V. No, I'm sure there is one in 5. Final Fantasy 1.
I meant modern era.
Lunar? Silver Star Story complete? Suikoden. Suikoden has some like Steam 10 robot things, I think.
And like one of the most unrealistic sequences in that, and the whole Brother Mazone. We can't talk about The Wire.
No, we can't. One day.
Yeah.
If our Patreon reaches, $6,000 a month and we can quit our day jobs, we'll do a Wire podcast.
Are you taking notes on a fucking criminal conspiracy?
Chu-Chu turns around and says, I'm exhausted. Chu-Chu turns around and says, I'm exhausted. Did I spell exhausted wrong, or did she say it like that?
I have regular ass exhausted. Exhausted.
Exhaust chewed. Ellie said, or Chu-Chu says, Ellie, she was so kind. I know I'm not the one to miss her. I know. Let me start all over. Sorry, fuck. Shit. Yggdrasil is a hard word to say.
Yeah, you got to not pronounce the Y, but also acknowledge it.
Yggdrasil, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and we're speculating here, but I mean, this is Kakahashi. No, don't call him that. Welcome to
fucking. This is Flapjaw Space.